So, as you know, the multiple perpetrator stalker network or the surveillance abuses network algorithm and conversational circuit is used as a suppression, repression, and oppression network. There are multiple different countries involved in it because it's a skunkworks project or a black project or operation or a psychological operation. So here is one of the members of, they call themselves the Illuminati, or it's like an urban myth, right? But it's just a group of people, adults, who are playing RPGs, role-playing games, and they think they're on some like meta narrative about good and evil, and they're in a position because of their wealth and status to run around doing dumbass shit. So this dumbass named Grimes, literally named Dirt, says that magic is indistinguishable from technology. And why does she say that? Well, it's a part of Clarke's law. So Clarke's law refers to the three adages formulated by Arthur C. Clarke that explore the relationship between science, technology, and human imagination. And why is this weirdo dumbass interested in that? Well, because they're into neural and biosurveillance or bioengineering. So this is a part of that. So Clarke's law goes on to say, the first law, when a distinguished but elderly scientist states that something is possible, he is almost certainly right. When he states that something is impossible, he is very probably wrong. This law emphasizes the importance of keeping an open mind about scientific possibilities, suggesting that established scientists may underestimate the potential for discovery. So this is about the science wars that are going on. There are different factions of scientists and researchers that are arguing about various things, okay? You got to go look up the science wars. And it's also like being mushed up because of dirt like this. So the second law, the only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible. This encourages exploration and experimentation beyond current boundaries, highlighting that innovation often comes from pushing the limits of what is considered feasible. The third law, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. This famous law reflects on how advanced technologies can seem miraculous. Ooh, it's magic, it's woo, it's paranormal, it's Satan. This famous law reflects on how advanced technologies can seem miraculous or incomprehensible to those who do not understand them, drawing a line between the known and the unknown in technological advancement. So this is basically the gap in knowledge or the ignorance that dirtbags like this are playing on in order to be able to sit there and pretend to be a warlock or a witch as an adult. Okay? So the other part of this quote that she has up here is about fifth generation warfare. And there's actually a book edited by Daniel H. Abbott that uses this same quote. So it says the Handbook of Fifth Generation Warfare, 5GW, the successful application of fifth generation warfare is indistinguishable from magic. Following in the spirit of Clarke's law, propounded by the author of 2001 A Space Odyssey. I think that book was also mentioned by Elon as being like one of his favorites or something like that, or was that something else? I don't know. But these people all launder shit to pretend like they're interesting, right? I'm not talking about Elon. I'm talking about the self-professed Dirt here. So Dirt goes on to use this quote that's actually laundering fifth generation warfare that she participates in. And this book that was edited by Daniel H. Abbott goes through the tactics of fifth generation warfare. The fifth generation warrior hides in the shadows or in the static. So then how can analysts and researchers study and discuss fifth generational warfare? Other questions also demand answers. What is 5G framework, which many theorists use to describe what is the XG framework, which many theorists use to describe fifth generation warfare? What alternatives to the XG framework exist? What fifth generation warfare has been observed? What are the source documents for the XG warfare framework? What is the universe of discourse for fifth generation warfare, and what did it emerge from? Why bother trying to understand fifth generation warfare? This whole cult is involved in fifth generation warfare. Another proponent of fifth generation warfare happens to be another key player in all of this, and his name is General Michael Flynn. So him and one of his little buddies in this network that engages in psychological warfare, Boone Cutler, wrote a book on it, again, talking about the same technology is magic as Dirt is talking about here. And their book is The Introduction to 5G Warfare, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generational Warfare, to prepare Americans and freedom-loving people everywhere for our current global wartime reality that few understand. Here comes The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generational Warfare by Lieutenant General, U.S. Army retired, Michael T. Flynn, and Sergeant U.S. Army retired, Boone Cutler. General Flynn rose to the highest levels of the intelligence community and served as the national security advisor to the 45th president. Sergeant Boone Cutler ran the ground game as a wartime psychological operations team sergeant in the United States Army. Together, these two combat veterans put their combined experience and expertise into an illuminating fifth-generation warfare information series called The Citizen's Guide to fifth-generation warfare. Okay? And then there's another one here, another guide, Fifth Generation Warfare by Armin Krishnan, Armin Krishnan, Dominating the Human Domain. Okay? Psychological operations and dominating the human domain. Now, what is the human domain? The human domain is the complex interplay of humans as physical beings. And what would help you? What would be beneficial in your game when you want to play within this domain? Surveillance. Okay? The human domain refers to the complex interplay of humans as physical beings, their thoughts, emotions, actions, and the creations that arrive from these interactions. It encompasses individuals, groups, and populations, including their perceptions, decision-making, and behavior. The concept emphasizes the significance of human beliefs, values, and networks, particularly in contexts such as military strategy and social dynamics. What does Dirt say? Magic is indistinguishable from technology. And that magic is very handy when you want to mess around in the human domain. Okay?